All right, Mr. Dahlen. I've agreed to this interview because, like I said, I hope that you'll be able to finally let Holmes put this Professor Marty business to rest so he can find the real cause of the problem.
I'll certainly do my best.
Fine. There are a few rules. Stay away from the glass. You shouldn't have any reason to pass anything through the tray to him. But if he should try to give you anything, you're not to accept it.
This reminds me of a movie.
Yes, well, it's good advice for dealing with cannibals and criminal masterminds. Please put this earpiece in your ear. Holmes, Dr. Watson, Simon and I will be watching from the observation room. You'll be able to hear us in case there is a question that you miss asking. Any questions?
No, I think I've got it. And Spencer already gave me a list of questions to ask.
All right. Just wave at the camera when you're ready to conclude your interview.
Ah, here it is. You must be James Martin.
Please, call me Professor Marty. Everyone else does. And who might you be?
My name is Stanley Hopkins. I'm with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. We thought that you might have some insight into a case that we are working on. If you'll help us, we might be able to lessen your prison sentence.
Is that so? Well, Mr. Hopkins, I believe that we may be able to come to some sort of an understanding. What sort of alteration are we discussing?
A judge has already agreed to reduce your sentence by 5 years if the information you provide leads to an arrest.
Am I to take you at your word that you will reduce my sentence?
If you would prefer not to chance it, we could ask someone else, but neither of us would appreciate the results, I'm sure.
That will not be necessary. Ask your questions, Mr. Hopkins.
Excellent. One moment, I just need to get them from my briefcase here.
Ask him the last question on your list first. I believe that it might do the job.
Well, that's the only question that I thought would be helpful anyway.
What did you say?
Oh, nothing. Just looking through the questions. All right. You have been in contact with a man in prison named Shinwell Johnson. We believe that he is communicating orders to criminals on the outside. We've been unable to determine how he could accomplish that task. Are you aware of a means that he might have of passing orders to someone outside of the prison?
Security is pretty tight here, but I do not believe that you have asked me the question that you were hoping to hear the answer to.
And what question would that be?
You are no more the ATF agent Stanley Hopkins than I am Spencer Holmes. Your voice is very distinct, Mr. Dahlen. Holmes should have known better than to think I would not listen to your little zealotries to better understand his way of thinking. And speaking of Mr. Holmes, why don't you ask him to come down here and ask me about the murders himself?
I don't know what you mean.
It's all right, Craig. We'll be down in a minute.
At the risk of sounding cliché, Mr. Holmes, we meet again. Nice of you to drop by, though. I saw how crestfallen you were at my sentencing.
You are a murderer and a fiend, Professor. I thought that we established that during our last meeting that you could just call me rather than having people killed in here or any other country. I'll see that you spend the rest of your life behind bars before I'm done.
We will see about that. I think that it is I who will have the last laugh. As I told you, murder is more fun, and it did the job. They don't let me use the phone or write letters here. I'm not saying that I had anything to do with the murders that you're talking about, but I'm glad you came all the same.
You really are a cliché villain.
And you, Dr. Watson. Pity that I didn't get the chance to show you how you were going to die. Perhaps fate will give me that chance again someday.
All right, that's enough. You obviously know something about the murder, so let's have it.
There really is no reason that I should cooperate with you, but I might be persuaded. I know Dr. Watson, Mr. Dahlen, and the officer there. But who is your other friend, Spencer?
This is Mr. Drinn. He is a Scotland investigator.
Ah, Scotland. Lovely country.
Yes, but unfortunately some ugly business has been happening there lately.
Nothing too serious. Like a string of gruesome murders, I hope.
I really should stop doubting you, Holmes, but he seemed like such an unlikely suspect.
As I have often said, Officer Weathers, when you consider the facts you must eliminate the impossible. Whatever you have left, however improbable, must be the truth.
Well, I don't think that we're going to be able to get much more out of him. Besides, he has the right not to incriminate himself any further than he already has. Listen here, you scoundrel. If you know anything about what's going on in Scotland, you'd better come out with it this instant.
Tisk, tisk, Mr. Drinn. You should practice more control. Your behavior does not befit an employee of Scotland Yard.
If I find out that you had anything to do with all of this, you vermin, I'll see that you hang for it.
Now, Inspector, that's not very nice. Not only have you threatened me, but I'm well aware that capital punishment is not legal in your country.
I really don't think that we can gain more by insulting him, Simon.
Right, sorry. It's just... Well, never mind. Let's go.
Well, that was rather productive.
What do you mean? All we know is that Professor Marty knew about the murders, but we're not really any closer to implicating him in them.
On the contrary, Watson, we have learned a great deal more than that. Based on his behavior toward the professor, I would say that Mr. Drinn has a personal stake in this case. Professor Marty's knowing about the murder is troubling, though. How do you suppose he came to be in the possession of that information unless he had something to do with them?
Maybe one of the guards told him. But even if he did plan them, wouldn't it just be more criminal conspiracy since he didn't actually commit the crimes?
Perhaps, but we are still missing something. We have tried to outdeduce the professor, and once again he has remained in line with me.
So, what do we do now?
We'll have to wait, I'm afraid. Though if we can connect Professor Marty in some way, at least we'll be able to get his sentence lengthened with some new charges, even if they are just more conspiracy.
Ah, great. So only a few more people have to die in order to get him locked up for the rest of his life.
I will admit that the method is not ideal, Watson. I'll think on it this evening and see what I can come up with by tomorrow. Stop by my place in the morning, if it's not too much trouble, and bring Officer Weathers with you, please.
All right, Holmes. I'll see you then.
Officer Weathers, I nearly forgot that I'd asked Watson to bring you along on the off chance that I might come up with a lead for you, but I'm afraid I've drawn a blank again. Sorry to have wasted your time. Where is Dr. Watson?
I was hoping that he'd be with you. But if you don't know where he is and he's not at home, then you should come with me back to the station.
Why? Has something happened?
We found Simon this morning on my desk. He'd been thrown through the skylight in the office and he didn't survive the fall. It's not exactly what I meant when I said that he should drop in.
Well, at least he is a man of his word.
Right. We also found this attached to his body. You can't take it out of the evidence bag, but I'm sure you can still read it.
Spencer, your two cronies have been taken away from you. I'd like to see how you get along without them for a while. If you'd like to see them again, then you should consider taking the steps necessary to meet our demands. I am confident that you know what they are, but if you should have any concerns, please come to see me. I will answer any 3 questions to which you might desire to know the answer. How cliché. If it weren't for Dr. Watson's involvement in this case, I should be all too happy to leave it in your capable hands.
We've been unable to locate Dr. Watson or Mr. Dahlen. I believe they're the people indicated in this letter. As for the demands, there I'm stumped.
It is obvious that this is an effort to release the professor from prison, but I don't think that we understand the full breadth of the plan yet.
I've got to go down to the station to deal with Mr. Drinn's murder. You coming?
Yes, but just to help with Simon. After that, you must arrange for me to meet with Professor Marty again.
Very well.
Oh, dear, look at the time. Weathers, usually Mr. Dahlen takes care of the next part. I wonder if you would be kind enough. I don't think I have it in me.
What? Oh, sure. Tonight's Watson Files adventure was written by Michael Helgens and directed by Scott Strosahl. Spencer Holmes and Dr. Watson were played by Michael Helgens and Greg Kilberger. Additional voices were performed by some guy named Steve Rimpici. Until next week, this is Max Weathers saying goodnight from Stroby Studios.